Are you ready to learn to live a life that is overflowing with victory and empowerment? Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Lane. Dr. Lane is a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. She is committed to addressing health holistically from the mind, body, and soul.
Hi, this is Dr. Antherica Lane with Conversations with Dr. Lane. Let's talk about those things that we do not have time to discuss during an appointment. Let's talk about your finances, business, education, relationships. If I can empower you to make healthy decisions in these areas, I am convinced your mind will be more focused and more open to a conversation about your health.
Turn up the volume. Get ready for Conversations with Dr. Lane.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Antherica Lane with Conversations with Dr. Lane. It's so wonderful to see you. We are in season 2 of Conversations with Dr. Lane. We have another great conversation, and our conversation is with Dr. Janelle Mcclain. Dr. Janelle Mcclain is the founder and executive director of Breastfeeding Outreach for Our Beautiful Sisters located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thanks for joining the show. Tune in, share, like. We want everyone to listen to this conversation with Dr. Mcclain. Let's go. Dr. Janelle Mcclain is the founder and executive director of the community-based health education breastfeeding intervention program, Breastfeeding Outreach for Our Beautiful Sisters, or BOOBS. Dr. Mcclain has 5 years of postdoctoral research in African American women and breastfeeding disparities. Her publications are in the area of qualitative breastfeeding disparities within African Americans pertaining to intentions, beliefs, barriers, breastfeeding disparities in an urban cohort of Black and white mothers. Her unique career extends in healthcare, specifically working in management for 14 years at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, General and Community Pediatrics. Dr. Mcclain has worked in the breastfeeding space for over 8 years. BOOBS is dedicated to addressing breastfeeding disparities among African American women and the effect of early infant health by providing an evidence-based breastfeeding intervention program. BOOBS has served over 1,000 expecting moms, partnered with over 20 community partners. Dr. Mcclain's most proud accomplishment is being the mother of 2 breastfed boys and being actually known as the boobs lady in the community. Dr. Mcclain's goal is to work herself out of a job in working to ensure that African American women are breastfeeding and building towards a healthy start to a healthy life. Welcome, Dr. Janelle Mcclain, to Conversations with Dr. Lane. Well, hello, this is Dr. Antherica Lane with season 2 of Conversations with Dr. Lane. We have another wonderful guest. We had Dr. Janelle Mcclain, founder and executive director of Breastfeeding Outreach for Our Beautiful Sisters on our last show. And guess what? Dr. Mcclain is back. We didn't get enough. We're going to talk some more, Dr. Mcclain, about breastfeeding. How are you doing today?
I am well. I am excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad to talk a little bit more about breastfeeding. And if you're listening to this show, go ahead and share it. Like it. We want everyone to hear this information about breastfeeding. So, first of all, are moms really still breastfeeding? And what about African American moms? Are they breastfeeding?
That is a great question, and they better be, because it is important, especially today with so much of our viruses, COVID and flu season coming around. It's important that moms provide baby with human breast milk. So, a little background: African American moms, unfortunately, have had a breastfeeding disparity in terms of being a lower um, group to initiate and continue to breastfeed. So, what we know from the CDC data is that about 68% of moms have African American moms have recorded of ever breastfeeding, compared to like 78 to 80% of white moms that have recorded ever breastfeeding. So there is a gap, right? And this is important because we also know, unfortunately, African American babies have 2.5 times the infant mortality rate than other ethnic groups. So it's important to identify what those barriers are, what we need to do to close those breastfeeding rate initiations and duration gaps, so that babies can be more healthier and moms can breastfeed and it can be viewed as more normal. So African American women, let me say the good news: they are breastfeeding. We have made strides. We are climbing in terms of those numbers. We are getting the information. Babies are more healthier. However, there still remains a gap. And so we're looking at what those barriers are that's prohibiting them from continuing to breastfeed successfully. What are those social determinants of health, right? Looking at some of those particulars and addressing them so that we can get more moms breastfeeding for the recommended amount of time, 6 to 12 months, up to 2 years.
Yes. As you know, I'm an OBGYN and I have a large African American population. And I would say, yes, many of my patients, I'd probably say even about 95% of my African American patients desire to breastfeed. But I think you really hit the nail on the head when you talk about trying to figure out those strategies where we can encourage women to increase the duration and to be able to continue, because breastfeeding isn't always easy for everyone. Let's start with first helping everyone understand even some of the benefits of breastfeeding.
Yes, absolutely. The benefits are exhaustive. The benefits are on both sides for mom and baby. The benefits for baby include low risk of ear infections, low risk of respiratory infections. The cognitive IQ levels are high. It builds their bones and musculoskeletal systems. One of my very favorites is strong immunity system, building that baby so they're less sick. So tons of benefits. I would say human milk benefits human babies. That's what it's designed for. One of my very favorite quotes, and I can't remember who actually said the quote, is that in all mammalian species, it took the mother's milk to sustain that mammalian's life. So it's because we as women and as a mammalian species that has the food to provide for our baby sustains that baby's life in the best way. And whatever anyone believes is the beginning or the origin of life, it had to be sustained by a mother's milk.
Yes.
And so that hasn't changed. Breast milk has not changed. So in addition to the benefits for baby, but it also helps with mom. So the more you breastfeed, the more you release the hormones oxytocin and prolactin, the more you are actually building your body, to lose weight. I just had a mom last night in a session who said this is the almost the only thing that I'm looking forward to is losing weight. So breastfeeding helps moms lose weight
Mm.
quicker. It actually lowers the risk of breast cancer, actually lowers the risk of ovarian cancer. It helps with the postpartum depression. You're releasing the oxytocin hormones, the feel good hormone, the maternal hormone that helps, again, moms feel better. Also helps with heart disease. Again, there's an extensive list of benefits for both moms and babies. And that's one of the things that we talk about in our sessions, and getting that information and that education out there so that moms are more aware and more motivated to do what's right and breastfeed.
So, what are some of the reasons that women actually stop breastfeeding?
Very good question. Now, particularly, so I'll put my little research hat on. So when I was doing some of my research in the early days in terms of African American women, um, breastfeeding cessation came because they had to go back to work sooner. They had those jobs that were not as high level, that had extensive work from home, even before the COVID days, like, those corporate jobs that some women were able to work from home. Those existed, but not a lot in the case with African American women. So they had to get back to work sooner, which, it's a lot to juggle and try to figure out. Also, the pressures from in research, there's been research that says that the pressure from the baby's father would suggest, that's a sexual activity. They wouldn't promote it, wouldn't, support it. And so a lot of women, African American, particularly women, would not breastfeed, along with other just pressures from sisters or friends, or they didn't have anyone in their family that breastfed, so a bottle was simpler. So the good news is that that has changed a lot. More African American men are so supportive because they understand the benefits. And the other key thing is more African American women really don't care what the men think because they understand what's best for their baby. And so they're going
Right.
to do it anyway. So beside, returning to work and not having that support, it's shifting in just in a positive way. And so more African American women are getting pumps provided by the healthcare or health insurances, or asking for pumps for baby showers, or coming to a boob session, or reaching out to boobs, and we're able to supply that pump, and they can take that to work and actually pump breast milk, and again continue to breastfeed their babies successfully.
Yeah. So it's so wonderful for you to mention the role of the dads in all of this, because I think sometimes the significance of the dad is not always emphasized, and so I really like hearing you say that, and how important that would be if he could encourage his wife, or the mother of a child, to breastfeed. That would have a great influence.
It does. From research shows that it does. But again, today, as I go through sessions, dads are attending the sessions. Dads are attending the sessions virtually. Dads are
Wow.
attending the sessions, in person. They're asking questions. They're, understanding their role, that they still can be skin to skin and, feed the baby a pumped breast milk bottle, or even just take care of mom while she's breastfeeding. So again, they're very supportive. And one of the slides that I present during my presentation and my education, because so many men are there in support, is that the slide of Michael Jordan, whose mother said, "Look, he's a breastfed baby. I breastfed him for 3 years," and you see guys kind of pick up and think, well. If that's the case, we're definitely gonna give this baby some breast milk. So whatever it takes to motivate, that support, we'll do it.
Wow, Michael Jordan is selling shoes and breastfeeding, shoes and breastfeeding.
Right.
So yeah, so let's talk about one of the challenges of breastfeeding is not knowing how much your baby is actually getting. What do you teach your clients? Are there any signs that a baby is satisfied or not after a breastfeeding session?
Absolutely. So that's one of the key questions, for moms, because they're, generally worried. Um, about whether or not their babies are getting enough milk, because unlike a bottle where you can measure, oh, they drunk 2 ounces or they drunk 3 ounces today, you don't get that same metric or that measurement from your breast milk. So one of the signs we talk about is how babies naturally go to sleep, or they kind of naturally hang out after they've nursed until they are satisfied. And that's actually the phrase we use. They nurse until they're satisfied. They're no longer fussy. They kind of hang out. They gaze in your eyes, you gaze in their eyes. Or they just fall asleep like that was the best Thanksgiving ever, and I'm just going to hang out here.
Right.
The other thing is that we teach moms that they need to make sure that they look for those Pampers throughout the day, the poopy Pampers and the wet Pampers, because those are indicators that baby is being hydrated and and they are getting the nutrition.
Mm.
So once they go through the day of those they have to have a combination of the two, the wet diapers and poopy diapers, because that again gives you a visual indication that the baby is getting what they need. The other thing is, breastfed babies see the pediatrician sooner. And that's one of the questions that the pediatrician will ask. And I work for a children's hospital, I know like a ton of pediatricians. And, that was one of the things that they would joke about. It's like, yeah, I had a breastfeeding mom, and she came in and I asked her how many Pampers, today. And she said a lot. He says, well, I can't really do anything with that number. Can you be a little bit more specific? So we teach them to what to look for, the number of poopy diapers and wet diapers, because again, that's the indication. So yes, that is one of the lessons that we share with our moms in terms of
Yeah,
breastfeeding.
those are great tips. I think that would be very reassuring,
Mhm.
knowing that information for sure. So, what if you have a mom that can't stay home and breastfeed their baby all day long? Um, what are some of her options for providing breast milk when she's away from her baby?
Yes. So the pump. First, it's really hard for most moms. I just read I literally just read a social media post today that said that breastfeeding for a year equals up to, I think it was like 1,800 hours,
Mm.
which is equivalent to, like a part-time job, or even, extended job. So it is challenging. It's a commitment. It is a dedication. And moms need their mom time, their self-care time. And so that's where the pump is vital. Um, when breastfeeding or providing human milk, it's important that you do have a pump, because that's a part of the breastfeeding journey. And when you're able to pump and store milk, we give the information about how long milk stays in the refrigerator, 3 to 4 days, how long milk stays just in room temperature, up to 4 hours, how long milk stays in terms of the freezer and the deep freezer. So you have those options, and you have that go-to, that not only are don't have to, stay um, in the house and, you know, breastfeeding, and you feel like that's all you're doing, but you have the go-to at human milk and still be able to provide all of the benefits that we talked about earlier, and not have to stress out that you're not providing your baby something because you can't be in the house all day, or you have to work. I've had a mom to say she had a baby, and the baby was literally 2 weeks old, and she says, well, I got to go back to work next week. You would
Wow.
imagine having a 3-week-old child that you'll be away from for 10 hours, just including, daycare time and
Mhm.
travel time, and you want to breastfeed successfully. That's stressful. So
Very.
that's, you have to think about, how can I manage pumping? How can I manage uh, breastfeeding at the breast, versus how can I manage, milk storage and being successful, because I want my baby to be healthy. I want my baby to be smart. So, understanding how to navigate that is, key, especially for African American women who have to go back to work sooner.
Right. What should a woman do if she's experiencing a lot of pain with breastfeeding? I've heard that as a big concern and reason why someone has stopped breastfeeding, the pain.
Absolutely. So one of the things is that you get with a lactation coach, counselor, expert, and that coach, expert, specialist will be able to make an assessment. So like I'll sit down elbow to elbow with mom and I'll observe the latch. I'll observe how the baby is actually latching onto the nipple and the areola. And a lot of the times, the majority of the time, it's all in the latch. One of my key phrases that I use during my session is the latch is the key to successful breastfeed. So I'm going to coin that. I'm putting a t-shirt, I'm getting a
Mm-hmm.
trademark. Because when you have a good latch, then you can breastfeed it and it doesn't hurt. Who wants to do anything that hurts? But you're still stressed because you want to provide your baby with the breast milk. Breastfeeding the baby at the breast is a slightly more effective than pumping continuously. Although I've had moms that said they pump the entire time that they, offered their baby human breast milk, which is fantastic. But those babies really know how to get in and get the hind milk and have the milk drawn down. So it's important that that latch is correct, but they should seek out, boobs or another lactation specialist or lactation consultant to help them get that assessment so that they can get the latch correct. And the majority of the time, it's a latching issue.
Okay. All right. So, how are these challenges amplified if you're dealing with twins, triplets, or just multiples?
Just like you said, it's amplified. But it is doable. We have plenty of moms that have had twins and they are suction cupped on one side and suction cupped on the left.
Yes.
And they are successful. But it takes it really does. It takes the family support because especially working with multiples, sometimes they eat at the same time. A lot of moms get lucky that one will like sleep while the other one is eating, and so they're able to manage it that way. They may get lucky where both twins or multiples actually like the right side of the breast at one point, so they can pump on the left side of the breast. And it's important to make sure that you're maintaining the emptying at the same time or simultaneously in some degree so that you can continue to make more breast milk. So it is a challenge with multiples, but it can be done because there's such thing as tandem feeding. We have, breast babies, twins being fed at the same time, one on each breast. So again, this is before at the beginning of time.
Yes. Yes. Breastfeeding is a commitment for sure.
Yes.
For sure. If you are just joining the show, this is Dr. Anthera Kalain, and I am having a conversation with Dr. Janelle Mcclain. Dr. Mcclain is the founder and executive director of Breastfeeding Outreach for Our Beautiful Sisters. And you'll also hear us refer to her organization as BOOBS. So, Dr. Mcclain, we're going to switch gears a little bit here and let's talk about a little more about breastfeeding at work. Really, should all women who desire to breastfeed at work, should they be able to breastfeed? Are there any laws that support breastfeeding at work?
Absolutely. So we are incredibly excited to actually partner with a program called Work Life Balance. And they are a group of attorneys that have worked with improving the pump law. This was put into place last year, 2022, and it is now a lactating mother's legal right to pump at work. It does not matter what size the employer is. So if it's 50 employees or less, it doesn't matter. They legally can pump, take time to pump at work. They can legally, and within that time, it has to be a clean, private space that's not a bathroom.
Mm.
This law is put into place and meaning that you can now sue an employer if you are denied your time and space to pump. This
Wow.
is a huge turnaround to support, particularly African American moms, again, because they have to report sooner to work. They have jobs that, don't have offices with the windows or, private doors and things like that. So now they have some legal room to actually take time to pump and to continue to feed their babies human breast milk, which is the healthiest option. So, yes, the Pump Act is implemented, it is in place. One of the ways that we've supported, and we actually did a Spectrum News piece on this because a young lady quit her job because she was told to pump in the electrical
Oh,
closet.
wow. Hmm.
So she's like, I don't want to pump an electrical, but my baby, needs breast milk. I want her to be healthy. There's also a business case, economic case that supports that when moms continue to provide breast milk and are able to pump at work, not only do they are less stressed, the baby is less sick or has fewer sick days. And guess what? When baby is out sick, guess who else has to be out sick with the baby?
Right.
So it just makes more sense to support that. So yes, the pump law is in effect. One of the things that BOOBS has done is that we have the 1-800 number to help support. We've helped draft the letter to your HR or to your supervisor or manager, explaining what the law means in gentler terms. And just like our lawyer friends say, just describe to your employer how not to get sued.
Right. Right. So that leads me to my next question, really about how does Boobs support breastfeeding moms? And is it best to seek you out before the baby arrives, during that what we call antepartum period or prenatal period, or should they seek you out after baby's here?
Yes, so preferably we want moms in the prenatal period because we having a baby and pushing and having the baby right plopped on your chest, and this firsthand, Dr. Lane, that's not the time to decide to breastfeed.
Right.
You have to kind of had some conversation, been
Right.
introduced, some orientation to breastfeeding. So preferably we have moms in their prenatal um, stages. The majority of the moms that would actually see, about 70% are in the third trimester, and the other like 30% are in their first trimester. So those are interesting phases when we actually reach the moms. So prenatally, so they can be orientated, they can get the education. Um, Breastfeeding education is really built on the social cognitive theory, and that just basically says we're building your intention to change the behavior and thought to, in this instance, towards breastfeeding. So we're providing the education, we're doing persuasive conversation, vicarious experiences. That means we may have other breastfeeding moms in the class, or you can actually witness moms breastfeeding, or we can share stories of breastfeeding. And then we're equipping you with the tools that you need to feel further empowered to actually complete the behavior. So that social cognitive theory approach, again, is in place prenatally. Now, we also, it's important to not only build that intention and build that encouragement and build that and empower, but it's also important that they actually do the behavior, right? So we, in that postnatal stage, we reach out. Hey, happy birthday, little Johnny. How's it going? How's breastfeeding going? How's the latch? How are you feeling? How are you pumping? Those kind of things. So we follow moms to a certain, or follow baby and mom to a certain degree as well. So yes, we do prefer prenatal, but we also know the importance of postnatal as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what is the best way to become a client or even donate to your organization if you have this great philanthropic spirit and you want to give to a cause? How can someone donate to Boobs?
Yes, we love great philanthropic spirits. They are welcomed into our space. Via our website, www.breastfeeding-boob.com, there is an option there to donate. I think it's like PayPal at this point, or we do have Cash App. Also, we accept any like checks that we get from foundations or things like that. So that is primarily the way to reach us. We can also be reached through all the social media outlets, Meta or Instagram. So we're here. We're Googleable. You can Google us, and we do exist, and we can pull up in that way as well.
Good, good. You're Googleable and Instagrammable and tweetable and
Exactly.
you're all those things. That's wonderful, Dr. McClain. You are doing a great work. What a visionary in the breastfeeding space. Many blessings to you and your organization that you'll continue to have just a broad, broad impact on the lives of these moms and babies. Thank you so much for joining Conversations with Dr. Lane.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time for another exciting show of Conversations with Dr. Lane.